Well, it's certainly old news that everybody knows that the United States invaded Venezuela, grabbed their so called leader, who's not really an elected leader, brought him back to the United States with him and his wife to be charged with narco terrorism because the arrest warrant was out for him. And by the way, there was a large bounty. I think it was $25 to $50 million bounty. Now, when you put a bounty on somebody, doesn't that mean you want them caught? Just bringing that up as an aside. But anyway, so now Maduro's back in the United States, but the United States is now going to be running, at least in the short term, Venezuela. But one of the biggest things Venezuela was doing that you probably didn't know about, or maybe you did but not thinking about, was they were selling what they have. And what they have is oil. They've got a whole lot of oil. Well, they were selling crude oil to Cuba. In turn, Cuba was sending them medical things to be used for their medical situation and other stuff that Cuba was able to export to Venezuela. Now, the oil has been cut off to Cuba because no more tankers going to Cuba because we're ensuring that doesn't happen. But does that really matter to Cuba? They're not getting any more oil? Ask yourself that question. Well, problem is, Cuba relies on that oil to fire up their electric plants. That's right, electricity didn't come out of nowhere, folks. You got to manufacture it somehow, and in Cuba they use oil to run the turbines that creates electricity that feeds their country. Now, if they don't have any more oil, they can't make electricity, what happens? Well, the electric grid's going to go down. The public transportation is going to go down. There's going to be power blackouts. And how are you going to keep your food refrigerated if you don't have any power? See where this could be going in Cuba? Now, Cuba doesn't produce enough oil. They can't. There's no oil wells in Cuba. They get it. They import it from somebody else. So what's going to change now in the country of Cuba? Keep in mind, nothing happens quickly. Please understand that. This is a slow progression. This takes time for anything to happen. But things will be happening in Cuba. That now the changes are coming along. No more oil, okay. So what's going to happen? Well, power grid, it's going to go down. There's going to be blackouts in Cuba. There's going to be hospitals running on limited generators. A lot of these hospitals in Cuba, because a lot of people come to Cuba for medical services. I don't know if you realize there are not a lot of Canadians actually come down from Canada because they can't get care in Canada under their particular system they have, which is Medicaid for Medicare for everybody, which is what they want to put in the United States. But so they can't come to, they can't get taken care of in Canada. They go to Cuba to get their medical procedures done. That's what Canadians are doing down here in Cuba. But the hospitals don't have power for their generators. They can't do medical procedures. All right. So what's going to happen even more? Cuba, it's going to be a transportation breakout because here's what happens. If all those buses in Cuba or those trains in Cuba or whatever they're running to get from point A to point B, they don't have any fuel. All those cars you see in the Cuban streets, those 50s cars that have been redone time and time again, there's no gas. Those cars ain't going anywhere. How are people going to get around? The buses won't be moving. They don't have any fuel. So if the buses don't work, the people who work in Cuba can't get to their jobs. See what's going on here? What's happening? Now, you're going to have medical shortages. You're going to have refrigeration fails on that store drugs in at cold temperatures. No electricity, no refrigeration, folks. That's what's going to be happening. So all these things are going on that will be going on in Cuba, and it will be happening slowly but surely. It's coming. Now, you're going to have security issues in Cuba. Because, well, the police are now going to have to get themselves involved on, police raids are going to happen. They're going to have fuel for their cars. Police officers running around their cars, you got to put gas in them or else they ain't going anywhere. Unless you want to see, police running around in rickshaws, which, could happen, I suppose. Well, and if they don't have any of those things available to them, how are the police going to control the crowds who are going to get angry? You take away the fuel from people, you take away the electricity from people, they're going to start getting agitated. So, does this mean that Cuba is going to fall? Cuba is going to fail? Well, the thing is, collapse only happens. Collapse in any country will only happen, but you got to have three things happen at one time. Three things happening. Number one, you got to have an energy failure. Okay, that's pretty much a given, and Cuba is about to experience that when they run out of oil. We just don't know how much oil they have in reserve, but they're not getting more oil now from Venezuela. Item number two, you got to have food distribution problems. Now, if they don't have food, people don't eat. People don't eat in the country. I guarantee you, they're going to start to get real upset and doing bad things. And number three, loyalty fractures inside of your security services. Now, what this means, if your military is not loyal to who's ever in charge, and they start turning on you, you don't have anybody to run the country. You can't be an authoritarian. You can't be you got one man out there holding up his pistola is not going to stop anything. So if you don't have your security services behind you, ultimately you will fail. Now, keep in mind, down in Venezuela, Maduro, he had a security force, but you guess who it's made of? It was made of Cubans and not Venezuelans. Because Maduro didn't trust the Venezuelans because he was not elected and they knew they'd probably assassinate him. So he used nothing but Cuban forces, not just to guard him, but in their police department and the people that kept the country under control. They were Cubans, not Venezuelans. All right. So if you don't have all those three things going on, they got to all happen at the same time. You can get two, but if you still keep number three, those security forces, you can still maintain control. So what are we looking for in Cuba? It could be, month, 2 months, who knows? You can see the blackouts. You can see fuel rationing. You're going to see transportation shutdowns. Probably military police movements. That's going to happen because people are starting to get agitated. They're going to have to start moving police around to keep them under control. And finally, you're going to see the Cubans have a plea out to the world. We need fuel. We need something to sustain us. We can't keep going anymore in the country. So, is Cuba collapsing tomorrow? Will it be next month? Maybe. Month after that? Maybe. Remember I said, you got to have three things. Right now, they're going to lose their fuel. They're going to lose their energy control. But until such time they lose faith in the security that runs the country, the people protecting the elite and government, once those people turn, the country will turn. And that's what's going to happen because one thing, they lost the flow of oil from Venezuela because Maduro has been transported and taken into custody for narco-terrorism charges. And now the oil is going to be used for other things, other places, other people. But that's what's going to happen in Cuba. Maybe you haven't thought about it, but now I'm telling you what you're going to be facing. Keep an eye on the news. Keep an eye on what you see in the papers. Keep an eye on what happens in southern Florida. The former Cubans there who's going to be talking about this. It's going to come up on the news. You're going to see it on TV. Maybe not now, but eventually, the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, you're going to see it happening. But at least I told you up front. Remember, three things need to bring down a country. You can get two, but until you get number three, a country will not fall. And now, you know.